Bayonetta, the Arc Eve origin, the Witch of Remembrance. Ino, the one with the world, the Hard Rock Witch. If both of these legendary witches of fiction were to square off with each other, who would come out on top? Well, in this video, we seek to find out that, but first, let's go over the rules. First things first, dimensionality is equalized, as I find dimensional win cons to be pretty boring. It removes the need to analyze any other statistic. Secondly, I will be taking Ino in her base form up to her appearance in Guilty Gear Strive, and for Bayonetta, I will be taking her appearance up until Bayonetta 3. It is worth remembering Bayonetta 3, the game, and the devs never explicitly state they're different, and in fact, Kamiya post Bayonetta 3 uses singular language when discussing the character. Thirdly, personalities are on with all traditional win cons being allowed, such as death, incapacitation, sealing, permanent battlefield removal, etc. Finally, we will be analyzing physical capabilities, skill, speed, and finally, hacks. With that out of the way, let's start with physical capabilities. Bayonetta is a very interesting character, as she's actually a lot stronger and a lot more durable than people give her credit for. I made a video if you want to know more and get a slow and in-depth breakdown of Bayonetta, but to get to the heavy-hitting feats here, we can get to the fact that Bayonetta has some pretty crazy lifting strength feats. Being able to carry the Climax Brace, which there are two side by side, with each containing a galaxy within them, and even more impressive is the Galactic Clock, which contains a universe within itself. This sort of stuff is consistent within Bayonetta, as the god of the verse Jubileus has a universe literally within her own body, which you can see if you damage her enough during the boss fight. And the creator of the multiverse, Aesir, also contains a universe in his mantle. What's crazy about all this is that Bayonetta, with just her hair and some help from John, can bear the weight of Queen Sheba, who is the embodiment of darkness itself, and is very literally the planet of Inferno, with Inferno being bigger and transcendent than the human multiverse, which itself is infinitely large, as Aesir made countless universes, and these universes each stack on top of each other, with Bayonetta managing to be able to lift something as heavy or heavier than all that with her hair, head, and neck. This insane lifting strength carries over to her attack potency and durability, as Bayonetta goes toe-to-toe with both Aesir, who casually created the multiverse by just thinking about it, and literally rips apart your insides with his aura, but also Singularity, who destroyed that multiverse, along with Gnunga Gap, which encompasses the multiverse, and Niflheim, which is an even deeper layer of Gnunga Gap. So in short, Bayonetta is rocking at least high multiversal attack potency, durability, and lifting strength. Bayonetta does fall off in destructive capacity, but she upscales massively to Bayonetta 1 Baldur, who casually one-shot the moon. Still a very respectable showcase here all around. Ino, for her part, is bringing much of the same to the table. Ino's not an actual human in the traditional sense. She's an entity that was created effectively by an error in the backyard, the higher dimensional space, in which the error poured the sum total of existence into Ino. Or as Ino puts it, she is part of the world and the world is part of her. The backyard is basically the computer for all reality, which are its games. It controls and contains all fundamental truths and concepts about the rest of the cosmology. For the backyard to put everything into Ino, that means to put the infinite number of Guilty Gear timelines into Ino, each universe being infinitely large in size. It can hold infinitely large structures. On top of that, Ino would contain the likes of Underworld Hill, which is a higher and larger world than any universe, as well as the realm of the vampires and demi-humans, who are beings that transcend genetics, physics, and time, and have to condense themselves in normal reality. With Ino herself being a time slipper and a literal axis of time for the backyard, surpassing time for lower realities. Basically, Ino by her nature contains a high multiverse, point blank period. With Strive Ino casually batting aside beings like Happy Chaos, who contain the other half of her power, or beings like Axel Low, who are time slippers like her, but are fodder in the verse. As far as destructive capability is concerned, Ino has consistently on countless occasions destroyed what she deems to be bad timelines, such as the countless times she had to kill Ramathal Valentine and destroy those timelines, or when she undid a bad timeline for that man just to prove her point. And in turn, she also creates dimensions, such as her personal realms within the backyard, as seen in Zerd. Another dimension she casually creates for her insta-kill in Zerd. Another rock and roll dimension seen in Guilty Gear X2, and is implied to have created Unknown, yet another realm. With even the far weaker X2 Ino being able to punch people into space in a single shot, and her blows, when clashing with X2 Soul Bad Guy, are able to rip apart space-time. Very impressive. This is really competitive on the surface. Both Ino and Bayonetta are capable of lifting and busting high multiverses, are capable of beating up people who can do the same, and can endure hits from those beings as well. Also, I would credit Bayonetta for having higher internal organ strength, capable of withstanding being ripped apart by Azir's aura. This is outweighed by Ino being far superior to Bayonetta in terms of her destructive capacity, as she makes and destroys universes on the fly. But her space-time destroying punches prove a higher striking strength as well, with their lifting strength being effectively equal. So I do award the advantage to Ino. Remember though, Bayonetta has fought beings who share the same advantages, and therefore I don't think it's likely this contest will be decided purely on physical capabilities. Next we talk about skill. Bayonetta is a master of the Umbra Witch martial arts known as the Bullet Arts. Although, unlike fellow Witch Jean, Bayonetta is a bit more freestyle. She has mastery over multiple weapon types, including swords, hammers, bows, guns, whips, scythes, nunchucks, chainsaws, and more. Bayonetta's martial arts are counter-centric, waiting for the opponent to make a move, allowing Bayonetta to dodge and then respond with a punishing combo, capable of keeping some opponents from even getting another chance. Her martial arts being good at dealing with one-on-one confrontations, as we see in battles against her rival Jean, her father Baldur, and her lover Luca, aka the Strider. However, they especially excel at dealing with hordes of enemies. To accentuate her fighting style, Bayonetta employs demons which she can summon to her aid in combat and take advantage of unique advantages, although this prevents her from being able to participate in the fight. The main weakness to this strategy is another counter-centric fighter with enough power can kill these summons, which do take time to regenerate. And Bayonetta has a nasty habit of getting tunnel-visioned, as it is a running theme that Jean has to constantly save Bayonetta from shots coming from behind. Ino, by comparison, is also a very skilled fighter herself, being a highly aggressive offensive fighter who is known for her mix-up potential, blending both a close and mid-range approach, using her music magic to poke at opponents from a distance before rapidly closing in to punish for lengthy attack strings. Historically, Ino has a competitive but winning record against Soul Bad Guy, the hero of the Crusades and main character of the series, and among the strongest in the world. Has an absolute dominating record against Kai Kisk, who also sometimes beats Soul based on pure skill advantage. Ino has beaten Ramlethal countless times, who herself has basically soloed the entire setting across countless timelines, and has literally no diff the likes of the samurai vampire Nago Ryuki, who objectively could and would have beaten Soul Bad Guy in Strive, as he is both resisting his own mind control and is actively sandbagging and telling Soul how to beat him. Guilty Gear Iska and Dust Striker also showcases Ino has some skill in battling against ganks, at least 3 other high skill opponents consistently. On a surface level inspection, it probably seems as though Bayonetta has the advantage on Ino. Ino is an overly aggressive offensive dervish, and is exactly the kind of opponent that Bayonetta specializes in. And she is bolstered by having 3 additional demons ready to be summoned at a moment's notice to provide support. However, this is not all that it might seem to be. Bayonetta is actually pretty mediocre when it comes to one-on-one engagements with equally skilled combatants, as all the battles with Jean in Bayonetta 1 were against a Jean who was testing Bayonetta and unwilling to kill. She then came to a draw with Baldur 2 of the 3 fights they had in Bayonetta 2. She outright loses her one-on-one with Lopter in Bayonetta 2, needs to be bailed out against Aesir by Loki, disintegrating his powers basically at the end, loses to an alternate universe Jean in Bayonetta 3 in a one-on-one, and is handed a win against an alternate Rosa who lets herself die, and basically has to gain Singularity at the end of the game. Bayonetta is simply most successful when fighting against powerful, but frankly, unskilled fodder she can bat aside. Ino, on the other hand, is the exact opposite, with extremely few showcases of dealing with huge groups larger than 3 or 4, but countless examples of her not just competing with, but outright thrashing high-skill individual opponents. Bayonetta and her demons would be troublesome, but they're nothing Ino hasn't seen before. Even a gun-centric fighting style exists in the form of Happy Chaos, who has the other half of Ino's power, but Ino can still block his bullets without lifting a finger. Meanwhile, Ino is the exact kind of opponent Bayonetta struggles with the most. We will be dealing with the associated hacks of their fighting styles later, but as their fighting styles and skills go right now, the advantage goes to Ino. Let's get this out of the way. In terms of speed categories, both are relevant speed. Bayonetta can react to Jubileus, Sheba, and Aesir, who literally predate the concept of time and space, because those concepts, including the concept of non-existence, were literally invented by Aesir, who Jubileus and all the angels far predate. Meanwhile, Ino is a backyard being with every single thing in the backyard, including concepts, being in a constant state of possible existence or possibly if they're going to spawn or not, as the space generates whether anything, even concepts, do or do not exist, even in lower realities, with demi-humans already surpassing that, and Ino surpassing that. What really matters for speed is how they use their speed. Both have high movement speed, with Ino being above Draco, who can jump out of the galaxy and back into it in seconds, but Bayonetta is as fast as Irenic, the angel car, which can cross the infinitely large Paradiso in less than a day. Both can go backwards in time, but Bayonetta can literally run backwards in time, as opposed to Ino's temporal control. Both are exceptionally agile, but Bayonetta is simply built around her dodging ability, unlike Ino. By no means is this a blitz, or probably a winning condition here, but the advantage, for what it's worth, goes to Bayonetta handily. This is the final statistic to look at, and in my opinion the most crucial. Ironically, Ino and Bayonetta cancel out most of each other's abilities. Both Ino and Bayonetta are equally competent in using their smack talk to unbalance foes, with Bayonetta's taunts literally driving her foes to make stupid and irrational moves as a power, and Ino leaving Baiken mind-broken with her own provocations. Bayonetta's weapon and demon hacks such as Soul Rotting, Absolute Hot and Cold, Insanity Inducement, and more are countered by Ino being beyond her own versus physics, rendering hot and cold relevant. Ino can also rip out souls out of people, has multiple souls to begin with, as the lives in the fighting game are confirmed to be souls, and can withstand the information density of the backyard, which contains all existence and does wear on the mind, but it has no effect on hers. And likewise, given Bayonetta can fight Jean, she also resists these same powers in reverse. Ino does maintain a proficiency with telekinesis, as strangely while Jean does also showcase some proficiency, Bayonetta has never displayed the talent. However, this content will come down to two things in my opinion. Whose reality warping is superior and whose time abilities are superior. The ironic thing is, despite being masters of time manipulation, both Ino and Bayonetta have been affected by time powers to some degree. However, whilst Ino routinely is capable of stopping time even against beings who transcend time in physics, and even other time slippers, such as Ino being able to trap Axel mid-dimensional travel with her net, and then BFR him to her own realm, Bayonetta has a spotty history of time slowing against similar beings such as the other Umbra Witches, Lumen Sages, and God. Not to mention, whilst Bayonetta is merely controlling time, Ino is a living time axis, and for the record, has never been the victim of time stop outright, since that her powers were halted by Axel, another time axis, whereas Bayonetta has outright been the victim of time stop at the hands of Baldur. This leaves it all down to reality warping. That being Bayonetta's so-called truth versus what is effectively Ino's manipulation of the code. Bayonetta's truth is actually very powerful, with Singularity outright conceding that Bayonetta is better at reality warping than him.
Clearly you haven't been paying attention. The truth is what I make it.
And Bayonetta is able to revive countless Bayonettas back from existence erasure, can summon 2 more Bayonettas and fuse with them, and she's able to override Singularity's ability to enforce destiny manipulation. which was an outcome he otherwise would have affirmed.
What are you doing? I destroyed you long ago. It is not pieces. My phenomenon once informed. Now changing.
On the flip side, Ino is outright immune to causality manipulation, being free from cause and effect, and is capable of changing the future with her actions, and in turn is given all power, quote-unquote, by the backyard. The ability to do whatever she sees fit, with Ino even being able to swap with a partially existing possibility of herself at the end of Strive, and ending up in that echo of a world that doesn't exist, that Nagoriyuki states she will destroy by existing passively. She'll destroy a non-existent place by existing in it. That's crazy. To put it simply, Bayonetta has to use her truth to save herself from existence erasure and destiny manipulation. Ino is literally free of destiny and causality and can vibe in non-existence. Hack's advantage goes to Ino. A hypothetical battle between Ino and Bayonetta would last effectively as long as Ino feels like making it last. Bayonetta is either competitive or weaker than Ino physically. Ino's martial arts are already what Bayonetta historically struggles with the most. Bayonetta's marginally superior agility and movement speed do nothing, as she won't run away from a battle, and Ino's temporal control makes up the difference. And all of Bayonetta's relevant hacks are countered by Ino, whereas Bayonetta can't do anything about getting ragdolled. Ino simply has superior time manipulation, and when it comes to their reality/destiny/causality/existence manipulation, Ino is quite literally empowered to be able to manipulate anything she wants. Bayonetta had only just discovered her abilities that day and couldn't even use it to stop her own death. The simple fact of the matter is, the moment Ino gets too bored, too angry, or too cruel, she can destroy Bayonetta whenever she'd like. The winner is Ino, the hard rock witch, mid-difficulty.